Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Rover Recon. Today it's going to be a maintenance day. Well, that's what we want, but I just made a huge freaking mess. Good morning, baby. Everybody, welcome back to Rover Recon. Today, a beautiful Saturday. I've got the baby with me in the back. We are off to the parts store. We are off to hardware store. We're running some errands. Today is a maintenance day for the black LR3. We're going to get some fluids swapped out in preparation for a little family trip tomorrow, closest as I could possibly get to the work truck. Alright, we're looking to do a coolant flush on this thing. About a month ago I replaced an airbag. Still having some air issues with that. I think it may be a valve block. We'll dig into that later. But when I did that, I did the oil. First real heavy test drive with that. At idle, oil pressure light came on. I'm going to put some thicker oil in it today, hook the oil pressure sensor back up. I do have an oil pump. Do not have the time or all the tools necessary to complete that job. So for now, we're just going to see if running some thicker oil will take care of it. We've got the tow Tundra in full swing this morning. Don't normally get to drive this thing. Also really don't want any of the fluids to be up at temperature when I go to drain them out of the motor. Our first stop this morning will be at a hardware store. When I bought this thing, for some reason it was missing a skid plate underneath with no bolts to it. So we're going to pull in here and see if we can't find what we need. I found a used OEM skid plate on eBay. Anyway, Jerry's Home Improvement it is. Let's see if they have what I need. Boy, let me tell you, there's not a chance I was going to film in there with that one. Anyways, we got our bolts and our washers. Off to AutoZone or O'Reilly's, get some fluids. So let's get a move on. I do want to say I may have some plans for this Tundra of mine. I know I renamed the channel not that long ago because I really haven't been including this thing in it, but might be on the hunt for a tune. Looking for just a little bit more power as always. Hopefully a couple more miles per gallon better. Don't really drive this thing, so the terrible gas mileage isn't too concerned. But when I'm towing my camper for hundreds of miles at a time, it would be nice to be able to go just a tiny bit further. How you doing back there, baby? Looks like AutoZone it is. Looking for some coolant, radiator flush. What else can we be on the hunt for? Alright. We got some good stuff. Alright, according to this guy, we need to let this thing run for 15 minutes. We are letting this thing run for a few more minutes. I will let the oil cool down a little bit, run one last errand or two, and then we'll get this thing swapped out. Alright, here we are underneath this thing. Right there is your oil drain for your engine. Takes a 13 mil. And then right in there is where the oil filter goes. There's the spent oil filled up the new oil filter. Put some oil around the O-ring there. Put this guy back on. So I filled this filter about 3/4 full. Got the gasket nice and oily. And then just go for it. And take your filter wrench and just you don't want to go crazy tight, but you also don't want that thing coming off there, right? Well, I'm going to say that's probably good enough. Alright, so this is the kit I got from Atlantic British. I actually ordered it off Amazon. It is for the LR3. It comes with oil filter, oil drain plug, cabin filter, and a reminder sticker, and an air filter. It comes with all of the good things to do a routine service. For 7.5 to 8.1 quarts. We got just under 3/4 of a quart here. Go ahead and well, that's one total quart down. Here comes 1 gallon. Top that in there, follow there. 5 quarts. Quart number 7. Alright, so remember that these call for 7.5 to 8.1 quarts. That's what the old Google machine says. 7.5 to start. I'm pretty forgetful sometimes with a lot of things, so I'm going to start with the top down, put the oil cap on. We put oil in it. We've got the new oil filter in and filled. Drain plug is in and tight. I think that means we're ready to fire this thing up. Alright. I did plug the oil pusher light back in, sensor back in. No leaks. Let's make sure. Let me check this guy a couple times. So, showing just the bare minimum there. I'm not going to use the funnel this time. Let's see how good my pouring skills are. So imagine the 7.5 is if you don't change the oil filter. The 8.1 is if you do. Not sure why you wouldn't change the oil filter and your oil at the same time, but it's not how I was taught. Yes, sir. Right where we should be. Now before I trip over this thing and make a mess everywhere, let's pour this back into a container so we can properly dispose of it. Nope. Alright, we'll get those marked with used oil and disposed of properly. Alright, let's open up this air cleaner box. So actually there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, down in there, 6, 7, 8 of them. This guy doesn't look terrible, but we swapped him out anyway with a fresh one from that Atlantic British kit. Alright, next thing is to try to get back here and here. I believe is where we need to drain the radiator, so alright. I think that's the petcock right there. It's on the passenger side of the radiator. I took the other shield mostly off. Those dang clips, man. I'm gonna unscrew that and see what happens. What do you think? Probably. Well, that's what we want, but I just made a huge freaking mess. So let's find something better to catch that coolant. So here's a top tip. Don't just open the expansion tank. Open the bleeder valve. That'll help control the flow rate better. And change the cabin filter. This came with the Atlantic British kit. And just lower that down. Pull out the cover. And then pull this guy. Quite dirty. And it had leaves in there. Seeing how this is a used car. Went off of somebody. I really want something fresh to come in here. Airflow down, right? Airflow through here. So, put this back. Right in here like so. Put this guy back on. Okay. You just squeeze those guys in. There's another one right back in here. It's not going to focus. Okay. And this filthy animal can go in the garbage. So, cycled water through the system a couple times. Now I'm going to refill here. I got 2 jugs ready just in case. Heater on full blast. Want to see fluids start bubbling out of there. Now these LR3s are a pain. I mean a pain to get all the air out. It took me many times when I was doing the hose replacement to get all the air out. So you might want to spend some extra time just making sure that you got this thing bled, allowing pressure to build. Okay, starting to get some bubbles through there. That's what we want. I also want to come in here and get these RPMs up a little bit. The book is 30 seconds, 2,500 RPMs, and then you're going to go 30 seconds at idle. Slightly confident that got that bled, but like I was saying with these things, you just never know. It's best to drive it around the block and see what it does. So let's take it for a test drive. Alright, so one thing you want to do, see the temperature already starting to increase. We're not getting any airflow. Made it about 1,000 feet. Temperature started climbing. So that's what I'm talking about. These things are such a pain. Good thing I pulled over at the neighbors. Walking back to my house. Not sure how I forgot the screwdriver to bleed this dang thing. But I did. So here we are. Shut it off because temperatures started climbing. So this just turned into quite the ordeal. Alright. Temperature's back to normal. Check engine light is on now. Now what I was trying to say was you should be feeling some heat coming through your vents. And I do not. That's telling me that there's nothing going through the heater core. Still nothing through the heater vents. I've got this stuff cranked. Alright, so we got heat coming out of this guy. Nothing really coming out of there. There's airflow, but it is not warm by any means. This guy's somewhat warm. I'm gonna say that probably we've got some issues with some heater lines. That guy's hot. Okay. Alright, I think I finally got this thing squared away now. After probably 20 times of trying to bleed it and filling it with the cap off, turning the motor off, turning it back on, trying to bleed it. Many times. I finally got heat coming out of the vents. And seem to be holding a steady temperature on the temperature gauge. Take it for a little quick spin here, just to make sure. Oh, I've got it in off-road height. Let's lower that baby down for a little bit. See what we got coming up here. So another thing I don't notice is the oil pressure light. Normally, after about a couple minutes of driving, everything got up to temp. That guy would be on. So here we are. Got the oil changed, 1540. Got some fluid, the correct fluid in there, and man, that is just a pain. There's got to be easier ways. But then again, I'm not a master mechanic. This is not a how-to. This is kind of how I'm doing type of video, type of channel. Maybe one day I'll be more versed in the abilities and knowledge of turning wrenches and working on Land Rovers. But today, just continue to learn that these things are a pain in the butt to get the air out of the cooling system. So tomorrow we will be on an adventure with the family. Mapped out some waterfall type little loop. So if you are here for the how-tos or the oil changes or the coolant change and you've made it this far, thank you. We will catch you guys on the next one for our adventure. Please come back. Please like, subscribe, all that good YouTube stuff. I do have a sneak peek of some merch coming, so be on the lookout for that on the channel, possibly even on the next video.